Hello! Now when you're watching some of my videos, you would be forgiven for thinking that my life is just one long holiday. Actually, it's nothing like that at all most days. And some people have asked, what do we get up to here in the Outer Hebrides every day, just on a normal average day? And that's what this video is. It's just an average day of what we get up to here in the Outer Hebrides. I hope you enjoy it. One of the best things about being freelance is that after over 25 years of working shifts and having to get up at some ridiculous times like 2:30 in the morning, I don't use an alarm clock. I wake up when I am ready, and that is such bliss. It can be as early as 5:30, but normally it's between 7:30 and 9 o'clock. Dougal sleeps with me on the bed, that's his privilege as top dog, and Ted sleeps in his crate that's next to the bed. I let Ted out, see if he needs to go outside, but this morning, no, after a stretch, he just goes straight back into his crate. I cannot function in the morning without a cup of tea. And because of blood pressure issues, I only have one caffeinated drink per day, and that is my first cup of tea. Therefore, it's got to be a good one. So when I'm at home, I use English Breakfast FOP leaf tea from the Tea and Coffee Company in Pluckley in Kent. You'll also see that I need a bucket of tea to get going in the morning. I've tried having 2 cups out of one teapot, but the second cup is never as good as the first cup, so I've got these huge cups from Matalan. With my cup of tea, I generally go back to bed for half an hour, enjoy the tea, wake up, and then I check my phone, and there are 3 things that I check every single morning that most people do when they live in the Outer Hebrides. The first is the weather forecast, because so much of what we do is dependent on the weather. The second is the tide, because again, a lot of what I do is dependent on the tide. And then the third is the Calmac ferries update. If the ferries are disrupted, even if you're not travelling, that can cause disruption to mail and it can cause disruption to supermarket deliveries. So again, you plan things like shopping around the ferry schedule. Once I'm ready to get up, I first of all play a little game with Dougal. It's become a bit of a ritual and we call it Blanket Monster. He loves being wrapped up in the blanket and tiggled, and his tail wags furiously. So yeah, it's become a bit of a routine. Blanket Monster with Dougal. Go. Because of the aforementioned blood pressure issue, every other day I go for either a walk or a run, and today is the day for a run. I've been doing the Couch to 5k program for what seems to be 3 years now, because every time I get to 5k I get injured. So it's really important for me to stretch and warm up and cool down. At 4 months old, Ted is sadly still too young to come on a run. Puppies are not supposed to run too much, and also at 4 months old he's only supposed to have about 20 minutes exercise per day, so he has to stay behind at the moment, and it's just me and Dougal. And now you see why I need to know what time the low tide is, because this is my favourite run, out on the beach at low tide. It's better for your joints and so on, but I sometimes do go road running as well. But today is such a glorious day, and yeah, at low tide was first thing in the morning, which was great, absolutely perfect. I've been very inspired by my friend Mark in Setúbal, who runs marathons and all that kind of thing. And it took him 2 years to fully get into running to work through all the age-related injuries.
You are halfway.
We are halfway. Time to turn around. Okay, dudes, let's head back. There are worse places in the world to live, but the weather isn't always like this. That was the best run so far this year. I really enjoyed that. It's not always like this though. Sometimes you're battling a force 9 gale in horizontal sleet. That's not so nice. Come on then. Come on then. For me, it's just as important to cool down properly as it is to warm up, so I do the exercises my physiotherapist gave me when I damaged my Achilles tendon.
Oh, Ted, you're an Never work with children and animals.
The chaos continues because I like to do some press-ups before my shower, and as you can see, I get help. Help I could really probably quite do without, really. Now it's breakfast time, and as well as the high blood pressure I try and manage, the other thing I try and manage is migraine headaches, and I found that one of my worst triggers is, well, stress, but other than that it's something called reactive hypoglycemia, which means if I eat too much sweet stuff or sweet drinks, anything like that, too much sugar, it can trigger a migraine. So instead of orange juice, for example, I'll have the whole orange. My main breakfast every morning is normally porridge. Don't do this. There you go, good boy. To make my porridge, I just use jumbo oats, water, and then once it's made into a paste, then I mash in a banana and add some peanut butter. Oh, and a little sprinkle of cinnamon too. I'm very fortunate in as much as I can control stuff like migraines and high blood pressure with my diet and exercise rather than needing any medication. So I don't take any medication, but I do take vitamins every morning. In the winter I'll take a vitamin D because of lack of sunlight in Scotland. I also take magnesium because this helps with migraines, and B complex or just B12 because of eating a plant-based diet. On my porridge, I'll then sprinkle some milled linseed or flaxseed. I'll have some chia seeds and top it off with some coconut. Meanwhile, the coffee's brewing. It's just regular co-op decaf coffee that I like to make in a mocha pot. So depending on what time I get up and if I've been for a run or if I've been for a walk, I get to my desk normally averagely at about 10 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it can be as early as 6:30, and then I'll do a couple of hours before breakfast. Sometimes it can be as late as 11 o'clock, but generally between 9 and 10 I'll get to my desk and do usually about 4 hours work. Now, of course, there's lots of behind-the-scenes stuff that needs doing in what I do, but usually first thing I'll do is check my emails, and if there's anything urgent, I'll deal with that. And after checking emails, then I will usually go into YouTube and look at my comments. And then if there's any comments that need replying to, I generally do that about 2 or 3 times a week. As well as the obvious stuff like editing, one thing that takes up a lot of my time at the desk is planning. So this day that I'm filming today, I spent hours and hours and hours planning a future video. There's lots of logistics to think about. For example, when I can do it, when the schedule is, when I can release the video. There might be timetables to look at, in this case ferry timetables, maps, logistics, all kinds of things, and then obviously trying to tie everything together can sometimes take quite a long time. Between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock I will break for lunch, and lunch is normally homemade soup. I batch cook a few dishes. Generally I've always got soup in the freezer, and lentil soup is basically my signature dish. I put everything in lentil soup and it's a meal in itself. So today, after washing up the porridge pot, it's time for a lentil soup that's frozen to a lump, and just cook it gently to slowly defrost and cook at the same time. While the soup's cooking, time to give the dogs their lunch. Now, because Ted is still a puppy, he's still on 3 meals a day, so of course Dougal just gets a tiny bit of kibble just to make sure that he's being fed first to maintain the pecking order of the dogs. But normally when Ted gets older, they'll be fed twice a day. While the soup is slowly warming up, it's now time to wash up the breakfast things. I mean, this is just rock and roll. This is how exciting an average day is in my life. So when you're looking at videos of exciting foreign trips, this is actually how I spend most of my life. Before the soup is ready, I actually prepare the tea for after my lunch, because I have decaf tea, and one of the best decaf teas I found is from the Tea and Coffee Company of Pluckley near Ashford in Kent. They do a great decaf leaf tea, but it does need a good 5 to 7 minutes to brew to get a really good flavour. So that's why I make my tea before I have my soup. And I'll have that with a slice of bread and some peanut butter. Then with my tea, I'll have something else I batch cook, which is tea bread. This is actually sugar-free. It's just plain. It's just the natural sugar from the fruit in it, which is soaked in tea. It's really simple to make, and yeah, it doesn't give me headaches, which is great. So I generally have a slice of tea bread. I've normally always got one in the freezer. So after lunch, it's time to take the boys for a walk. Give Ted some exercise, because bear in mind he hasn't been for a walk today. And today we're going to take the car, simply because I'm trying to get Ted used to travelling. So sometimes we will walk, but because it's high tide now, our walk has disappeared. So we're going to drive a few miles to a nice beach to give Ted and Dougal a nice walk. Well, and me as well. Ted, quickly! Ted, good boy, good recall! Good boy, Ted, good boy, Dougal! Good boy, Ted. Gently. Good boy. Good recall. Hooray. Now, because it's such a lovely day, we are prioritising time outside, so I am spending less time at my desk today, and also I'm spending less time cooking and using pre-cooked food so that we can make the most of the lovely day. So I will get back to my desk normally between 3 and 4 and then work through till about 6 o'clock. So today I haven't got back to my desk till just after 4 o'clock, so now there's only a couple of hours left that I'm going to do some work. Sometimes if I'm editing and I'm really getting into it, I might just work right into the evening, and if I'm just not feeling it, I might just give up and go and have a nap, which is again a great thing about working for yourself. Here I'm doing the really boring task of bookkeeping, so I've got a new computer and I'm just transferring some of the files from my old computer to the new computer so I can get on with the thrilling task of bookkeeping. So it's 6 o'clock, that's enough of that. Trying to switch off the computer and go and get some dinner. So for dinner we're having my signature dish, which is pasta and broccoli in a tomato, lentil and garlic sauce, otherwise known to my friends as pasta goo. I don't know why we call it pasta goo, but that's what it is. So this is one of the dishes that I will batch cook and freeze, and if it was a miserable day today, which it's not, I might end up cooking something, but basically pasta goo sauce and curry, I batch cook them, and soups and tea bread, and then just have them in the freezer. So this is just pasta goo sauce that I've defrosted, that I've batch cooked previously. So I'll boil up the pasta, add the broccoli, let that cook for a bit, and while that's draining in the colander, I'll warm up the sauce in the same pot, well, save washing up, and then add the pasta and the broccoli back and stir it all in together. A sprinkle of nutritional yeast on top, which is a great thing, and yeah, that was absolutely yummy. As I'm recording this voiceover now, I'm actually feeling quite hungry again looking at that. Once I've had my dinner, I will look at my phone and maybe reply to any text messages that I've had through the day, because I do try not to do that while I'm working. I do work only between, say, 4 and 6 hours normally in a day, and I like to make that focused work, which I think is far more effective than distracted work for 8 or 9 hours. My go-to dessert is chopped apple with raisins and yogurt. Quite often I will put the apple and the raisins in the microwave for a couple of minutes, so you get like a baked apple. But today I'm obviously feeling like the apple just fresh, and a nice vanilla soy yogurt and some milled linseed on top. At the moment, I'm really into fennel tea. I do like the 3 fennel tea from Pucker, or my friends Petra and Andy send me fennel tea from Germany, because that's also really good. And yeah, time for washing up, and it's just absolutely thrilling, isn't it, watching me wash up? But that's what needs to be done. I don't have a dishwasher, and I don't have someone to do the washing up for me. Now, before you think that my diet is all holier than thou, I've just discovered this in the Co-op, which is a plant-based chocolate, and it is divine. I do eat too much of that. Because of the time it takes to just take care of yourself when you're living on your own and also doing all the domestic chores, it doesn't leave a huge amount of free time in the evenings. If I am at home and I've got free time in the evening, then I will generally do something with my model railway. I do enjoy model railways. At the moment, I'm building a box file layout that I can take away with me when I go caravanning. Otherwise, I might be going to a friend's house for dinner, or going dancing at the local hall, or going to my Gaelic lesson down in South Uist. So there's plenty going on the islands. So what I'm doing with my box file layout tonight is laying what we call check rails, putting some infills in the track. So I've laid these extra rails inside, called check rails. And now, of course, is the important part of the process, which is the testing. It's not at all playing with trains, it's testing, serious testing. So at around 10 or 10:30, it's time to stop playing and get off and do the evening routine. Let the dogs out, give them their biscuits, clean my teeth, put my pyjamas on, all the usual stuff. I aim to be in bed by 11 o'clock, sometimes it's a bit later, and then once I'm in bed I might read a little bit with my Kindle. But the other important thing I do in bed before I go to sleep is plan the next day, what I'm going to do the next day, and that will hopefully let me sleep a bit better. So between about 11:30 and midnight, it's time to put my book down and switch off the light, and fortunately I do sleep fairly well. I put that down to the good Uist air. So there you have it, folks. That is the excitement of my average day here in the Outer Hebrides. So there you have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed that video of just an average day for us here in the Outer Hebrides. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do. Please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you don't already. It just leaves me to say, from Ted, from Dougal, and from me, thanks for tuning in. There. Are you excited about that video, folks? Dogs, are you excited about that? Are you excited? Ooh, are you excited? Yes? 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 They never smile. Well, you do really. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.